What's up, everyone? This is John Johnson from 941 Sports Connection. I have Coach Rashad West here, head coach at Labor Ranch High School, home of the Mustangs. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem, no problem. So you were at Labor Ranch before, right out of high school, right? With Coach DeLazer, but you're on there for a short period of time.
Yes, sir. That's correct. Not out of high school right when I got out
Yeah,
of
out
college.
of college, yeah.
Yeah. So I was here for I think the 2002 season. So
Okay,
yeah,
so
so I worked here for a season with Coach D.
yeah. And that was the year that they won the district.
I'm not sure if I think we won the district or if we were runner up. No, we had to be runner up because we were on the road the first round of the playoffs at Fort Myers. But we were able to win that first round game at Fort Myers. Then we were on the road at St. Thomas in round two and just kind of came up short.
Gotcha. Yeah. I remember I was talking to Coach Marino, who's the OC at the
Hmm.
time there, and we were talking about that year and going down and St. Thomas and how he said the first two drives drove right down the field and they just fumbled the ball in the first drive and then the DN just made an incredible play on the screen. It's crazy he could remember that
Dude,
close
I was
to
just
20 years later.
what's funny is I was just thinking the same thing, man. You could have told me anything happened, and I would have said, yeah, that's probably what happened. I don't have any memories of that. It's just been so long ago, and so many games, and for me, so many different kids and locations, man. It's just I know we did have some success early. We just didn't punch it in when we did have some opportunities, and then you know how it goes. You kind of snowball against those guys.
Yeah. Now, after you left Lakewood, you went down south and was coaching, or did you go directly into the college scene?
When I left Lakewood Ranch, I actually went to Cumberland University, and I was a GA at Cumberland University for a year, and then they kind of released our staff, and I kind of got out of coaching for a couple of years, and then I came back home in '04, and I think it was '05 that I worked with Coach Hunter, and we opened up at Braden River, and I was there for a couple of seasons as that program was getting going, getting started. And I left there to go to Fairleigh Dickinson in New Jersey, be offense coordinator for a little more than a year. And then I transitioned into South Florida and spent, probably a good part of about 10 years down there, 8 to 10 years in South Florida between Western High School and Coral Springs High School.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, and I know when I had graduated, you were at you were at Weber. You're at Weber coaching for a little bit, right? The
Yeah, when
NAIA
did you
school.
graduate?
I
Yes,
graduated
what year?
2011.
No, actually in 2011, I was still at, yeah, no, I wasn't at Weber yet. I was at Western down in Davie.
Okay.
I didn't go to Weber. I think it was at Weber for the 13th season.
Okay.
So shortly after you graduated, I was at
Okay.
Weber, and we did a year at Weber. It was a great experience. Obviously, anytime you get to do whatever level of college football, it's a great experience, and it's a whole different animal than coaching high school football, especially being the head coach of high school football. I was just a position guy, so it was football full time. I didn't have to deal with all the other stuff, that goes on in a high school.
Gotcha. Now, the difference, how was it with recruiting being at an NAIA school? I know you kind of when you walked in.
It's just a little slower. Because you know how it is. The kids we want don't know that they want us
Mhm.
when the season starts. Everyone still has dreams of going to a higher level, which is awesome if you're able to attain that, and that's something that comes out, comes to fruition for you as a kid. You always want to go and find as high a level as you can to play football. So that it's a little bit slower in regards of that signing day piece isn't exactly the end game for us. Because again, like I said, the kids that we really want don't know that we're the location for them, throughout the season. It
Yeah.
becomes something that they realize, as signing day approaches, and then Weber becomes the NAI level becomes a bit more attractive. But you're still talking to kids all the time. You're still trying to build relationships because you never know what may happen where that kid may be calling you back and saying, "Hey, I need a home." So it's a little slower. It's not what you see on TV or you see on social media with all these guys pumping out their full scholarship offers or whatever, and blessed for this, blessed for that, which is cool to see those kids having those opportunities. A little bit slower, but it's still ultimately it comes down to relationships and building them with the kids.
Gotcha. Now, when you did finally come back home completely, you're at Southeast for some time and started to actually turn that program around. Things happen, and that could be a conversation for another day. But what made you go back to Labor Ranch?
I mean, ultimately, the number one reason to even come back to this area was to give back and work with kids that grew up in the area that I grew up in, and give them an opportunity to get out of here, or to go do whatever, but just an opportunity to uh, experience different things and share the knowledge and the things I've learned in the course of my career, and to work with kids in this community. Some of them have to be kids of people I grew up with. So it's always good to work with them and have an understanding of the kid as a whole. So it was big for me to come back and get to work in our community. Obviously, things didn't work out over there as planned, but everything happens for a reason. It can be argued that Lakewood Ranch gives me a bigger platform to work with kids and share the messages that we try to share with them. Just because we're a larger school, and we have more kids in the program, and we're a different school. It's a whole different situation. It's a different environment, and there are different experiences for our kids to experience, come out here and have at Lakewood Ranch. But it's still ultimately, at the end of the day, it's just an opportunity to work with people in the community you grew up in.
Gotcha. Yeah, I definitely understand now. Last year was difficult for everybody with COVID and the restrictions and not knowing what FHSA was going to do for you from your standpoint. What was the most difficult part about last season for you and your staff and your program?
It's the idea of not knowing who's going to be available on Friday. I mean, as you know, our school probably was hit the hardest of any school in the county, just talking school in general, not even talking athletics, in terms of contact tracing and COVID outbreaks, just because of our sheer numbers on campus. We had that many more cases than a lot of places. So, there's a couple of weeks where, it's Friday and this kid, that kid, this kid can't play tonight. They've got to go home for 10 days. Contact tracing in their classroom or whatever it is. So just not knowing if we were going to play from week to week and not knowing who's going to be available to play, you know, I mean, aside from all the different restrictions of how we did things in the locker room, how we were able to practice, our weight room was shut down for the entire fall. Like we didn't have access to the weight room at all until the winter. So not being able to train and those things just makes it difficult. But at the end of the day, it could have been worse. There were states where they didn't play football. So, and there are parts of our state. I mean, all my guys in South Florida, how they had abbreviated seasons, or they didn't really have a season. So it could be worse. So we was thankful to get anything in, get in what we got in.
Gotcha. Now, and I'm still confused a little bit on why the FHSA did it, but what's your opinion on how they kind of just was like, if you want to be in the playoffs, you could be in. It wasn't like a name, it wasn't like a fight for it or no one played. So what's your opinion on that?
I just don't know what else they could have done. I mean, yeah, it was great. We had a playoff game at Lakewood Range High School. I mean, it was a big deal to our program and to the people on our campus. But ultimately, I don't know what else they could have done. It was just because the scheduling was so uneven. So many guys played some games, some didn't, because whether it was contact tracing or the team they were going to play had a COVID outbreak. So it was just so hard with the schedules being all over the place and number of games being played being so different from school to school, district to district. We were never on the same page. Some districts start before us. Some districts play more games than we played just because they started practice before us. So they gave their teams the green light. So I don't know how you could have fairly have done it, and I don't even know if fairly is the right word, but I don't know how they could have done it other than what they did. But again, man, it was glad we got to get something for those kids, because ultimately those seniors wouldn't have gotten this year back. So there was something. They did have some sort of season. So you can't, I mean, you have to be appreciative of that.
Yeah, definitely. Because like I'm a huge college football guy, and I just recruiting wise, trying to look at some kids from out west in Cali where trying to find their film, and it's like, oh, 2019. Well, I forgot they they didn't play at all last
Yeah.
year, so a lot of these guys
Yeah.
don't have any junior film. And I tell a lot of kids, sometimes you get recruited off your senior film, but most of the time it's that 11th through ninth grade years where you get recruited, where missing out on junior year hurts a lot. So
Oh yeah.
I feel bad for those kids out there. I like kind of what the NCAA did was give everybody a year, but obviously you can't do that in high school. So it's interesting. Now looking back on your last season, you went 5-5, um, no districts, but it seems like you guys kind of you beat you beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, and then lost to the teams that were teams like Manatee and Venice. Is there a game in there where you thought you guys might have could have stole one and just things didn't go your way? Or
I mean, first, just to go back to what you just said, and I don't know if that's a credit to our kids or credit to the coaches and our on our staff, but I don't know that anyone ever says Lakewood Range beat the team they're supposed to beat. Like, when do we are we at that point where there is a team that we're supposed to beat? Because that's just the reality of it. So I think, man, it's good that people think that now. Um, we don't have any magic wands. We still got the same kids out here we have. We're still blowing a whistle. So I don't know. Maybe it's that our staff's done a great job and our kids have bought in. But I hear that. I've heard that before, and like no one comes. I guarantee you, when teams have see us on their schedule, they think, just as you just said, that they think this is a game they should win. And that's just, we're trying to change that. I don't get me wrong. We don't believe that as a program, but to say we beat teams we're supposed to beat, that's fine. That's great. But I'll tell you what, none of them laid down. They all thought that was a win when they, obviously when they saw that game on that Friday night. There are a couple games we should have played better in. We turned the ball over way too many times against Sarasota. They're obviously getting it going over there, and Brody's doing a good job with those kids in that program. But we had an opportunity. We had several opportunities early in the red zone or driving the ball where we just turned it over too many times. That one was tough. Obviously, the first Manatee game, the score is not really indicative as to how the game went. I mean, it was 7-7 at halftime. Not again. By no means am I sitting here saying that we should be trading punches with Manatee and we're going toe to toe with them. I certainly understand how this works, but I thought we just didn't play with the same intensity. And then maybe they play a little more in the second half. They make adjustments too. They practice too. But those are two games where we could have played better in spurts. And I don't know that we win, but I walk away feeling a little bit better. I'm not even sure. I mean, I know we lost to Venice. I'm not even remembering, and it's escaping me who else we even played. I know that's probably terrible to say, but I'm fortunate, and for the games we won, man. Like, we won 5 games at Lakewood, and ultimately that's not our goal. We have bigger goals than that, but it's good to get to a point where people say, yeah, well, you won the games you're supposed to win. Because I mean, I'm not sure that's been said much about Lakewood Ranch over the past 10 years or
yeah,
more.
and yeah, and you know me, you've known me a long time. I was born a Seminole, but I was raised a Mustang. I've been around that
Right.
program since its infancy, so I know I've seen the ups and downs. And like you say, in the last 10 to 15 years, I don't think Lit Ranch has more than maybe 3 winning seasons. But just looking on how the program has been upticking, that's why I say the games that you guys should
No, I
win.
certainly understand that. No, I understand
And
that.
like teams like Northport and Booker and Seminole out of the Pinellas County area, those are games definitely where looking in the paper on Thursdays, or well, they don't do it Thursdays anymore. They do it Friday mornings. But Friday mornings, I look up like, okay, I could circle Labor Ranch for that win. I could circle them. Now, golf out of Newport Richie, that was kind of, I don't know much about that program. So when I seen that, I was like, I don't know anything about that. I know I trust Wes, so I kind of pushed that game and just let it ride. Sarasota is a game that I was surprised that it was that close and you guys end up losing in the end. Now with this season going into transitioning to the next season, what are some guys that you have coming back this year that you're looking for to take the next step, or it's going to be a huge help to your program?
I mean, obviously, we'll start with our quarterback. We've got our quarterback coming back for what would be year 3, but really year 2 in this offense. And the way we're doing it and having a full summer will help, and a full spring will help. So we certainly need Cameron Madison to take the next step. And we fully expect him to. We have a lot of faith in him. Up front, we've got some kids returning. I know in the past, Lakewood Ranches, for one, if anything's been known to have, a pretty good offensive line. That's kind of been the thing. I'm not sure we have a Sam Jackson on our team, but we've got some kids that have been here long enough now, and the Spencer Pughs and the Paxton Popes, um, that they should be ready to contribute at a higher level than maybe they did last year. And we got some good young kids on the offensive line. I mean, that's going to kind of be our overall theme is offensively, we've got a bunch of kids that have been in the program that have got to develop and they've got to grow up quite a bit. But we've had a real spring and we had a real summer where we can kind of get better and we can work on things. And defensively, up front with between Caden Rathbun and Brooks Moyer and Neil and Jove, or those kids have played a lot of football for us here. Sam McCracken and Timmy Malcock as linebackers, and in the secondary, a kid named Corey Vondran is going to, I think, have a really good year for us, and Dan D'Souza, and a lot of kids like that have just kind of waited their turn, and they've learned and they've gotten better, and they've been true program kids. And we were able to add Kevin Everhart to our roster this spring. He had played over in Palmetto Parish the first couple of years, and he did a great job for us this spring. He's had an awesome summer, and another kid that's come up that's developed, big kid who may have a chance recruiting wise if things keep developing, is a kid named Isaac Ashley. I mean, he's a big hybrid tight end receiver type kid. So those kids just have to keep developing. But I think we're in a better place now than we were last year, just because we had a spring and we had a summer.
Gotcha.
So I certainly think we're in a better spot.
Yeah, and losing the spring hurts, but none like that summer where that's where you separate yourself, get in the weight room, and you see guys gain, and not being able to truly gain is kind of like you're playing that year over again,
Right.
weight room wise. Now, I know you lost two guys from the program. One of your best receivers from last year, Jaleel Duncan, and his cousin, his name escapes me, who played corner. Does that, I know it stings, but will that change anything for you offensively on how you attack teams, or is it still going to be the same old ball?
No, I mean, we're still going to do what we do. I mean, obviously, you never want to lose anyone, any talent. But again, man, don't forget, I cut my teeth in South Florida, dude. It is what it is. Like, kids come, kids go. I wish them well. I think they'll do well over at Manatee. I mean, obviously, Jaleel's going to have success. He had it with us. And Zayon is as talented as anybody that, around here. If he gets his right opportunity and he does things the right way, they'll both have success. But no, we, as I always tell our kids, they're not going to push our games back because those kids left. We have to keep working and keep moving forward and continue to try to get better. I mean, yeah, obviously, was we as talented as we would have been had they been here? No. But with that said, again, I still like the kids who are still left.
Gotcha.
I think the kids that are left have a really good grasp of what we're doing, especially offensively, and that's the biggest key. But again, you never want to lose anyone. But it's they did what they thought was best for them, and I wish them well. And we got to keep moving forward. Again, we still have to play on the 20th. They're not going to move the game back.
Exactly. Now, this season coming up, you're in the district with you moved up from 7A to 8A, and you're in the district with Venice, Sarasota, and Gulf Coast out of Naples. Pretty strong district. Sarasota, I'm sure you're looking to avenge that loss. Playing Venice, and being in that district, how do you feel your team fares with those teams? Is it one of those things where like they're, how can I put this? Your guys are ready for the task. Do you feel like you're not you as a coach? I know coaches are always ready for the task, but do you feel like your athletes are ready for that?
I mean, ultimately, we didn't do anything as a district, but really swap Manatee for Riverview because we still have Sarasota, we still got Venice. We did add Gulf Coast, as you alluded to. Don't know a whole lot about them. To be honest, the most I know about Riverview is I know their head coach because I'm friends with him, but I don't know much about them because we haven't played them. I know they got some good players. I see them on social media or whatever, but again, I don't know anything about them schematically. And we'll cross that bridge as we get there. Like I said earlier, Brody's done a good job at Sarasota trying to get it off the ground and get them going in the right direction. And again, I know what I see on social media in regards to them. we'll worry about them when that time comes. And there's nothing you can do with the Venice thing in terms of worrying about it. Well, again, it'll be another game on our schedule. They practice, we practice too. I mean, we're going to go out and see what we can do. Obviously, we know it's a huge, it's a huge get to go out and play them, and a huge challenge rather. But again, that's why we do this, and that's why we do all this stuff in the summer, is to prepare and get ready to go play those games. But I know Peacock, and we have a good relationship, and I know he does a good job with this program, and they got some really good players. But again, I think we prepare as well. So, it'll be fun. It's always fun to go play them. It's always fun to play in those games. The Venice's, the Manatee games, even the Sarasota, and I'm sure River would be a great atmosphere and a great experience for our kids. And those things are fun. Those are the games you want to play.
Yeah. Those big time games against those big time programs are what you live for on Friday nights. And any given Friday night, you never know. You guys go in there confident, things happen, and before you know it, you're leaving there with a W. You never know what could happen. Um, and I see you guys are opening up with Seminole Osceola as your kickoff classic. Um,
Actually,
looking at
we have Alonzo as our kickoff classic.
Okay, I'm looking on
Uh,
Matt's preps, so
right. Yeah,
apologies.
it's Seminole is our week one, I think. Alonzo's our
Okay,
kickoff classic out of Tampa.
now looking at your schedule with the RPI system, do you feel comfortable that along because you're going to get your wins? Do you feel comfortable that your opponents will help you with the RPI system as well? I know Venice will because how strong their schedule is, but
Yeah, I'm sure Sarasota will. I don't know who they play, and I'm sure Riverview probably plays a pretty tough schedule. And dude, I'm no math. I mean, you got to be a mathematician to figure out this RPI thing. Ultimately, like I say, is you go out and win enough games, you don't have to worry about the computer. That's just kind of the mentality I take with it. You win enough games, the computer will take care of itself. Again, 2 years ago, whatever, we were decimal points out from getting into the playoffs or whatever it was. I honestly don't know it. I mean, I know it, and I understand it, but like, it'll drive me nuts trying to figure it out from week to week. So
mm,
if we win enough games, it'll take care of itself. And it'll shake out the way we want it to. And if we don't, then it's obviously not going to work in our favor with the RPI. But again, if you win on the field and you win enough games, it'll take care of itself.
gotcha, definitely. Now I know you're still calling offensive plays, correct?
Yeah, in conjunction with coach, one of our other guys.
Now tell me a little bit about your offensive scheme. Is it kind of spread? Is it what is it? What's your offensive scheme?
I mean, obviously, it's no secret we're an air raid team. We are more of a pure Mike Leach air raid team. We throw it around a bit more than most people around here. We try to play a fun brand of football. Win or lose, people come walk away enjoying the product. So yeah, we that's just who we are. Kind of running around, throwing it around to guys who can try to make plays.
Gotcha. And defensively, um, who's your defensive coordinator, and what are you guys gonna run this year?
Well, we lost our DC. He ended up taking a job down in Sarasota County, a little closer to his house, which he had taken over. We've had a whole DC revolving door situation here in the last 4 months, just for one thing or another. But I feel good. We've kind of got two guys doing it. Matt Lane, who was a linebacker coach last year, as well as we added their Payne to our staff to coach the DBs. So they're kind of working in conjunction. I think, we're going to simplify it a little bit more than we were in the past, just so we can play a little bit faster. And we're going to probably have some kids playing a little bit on both sides of the ball, which isn't ideal at the 8A level, but we just have to make sure that maybe they don't get as many reps, but they're able to kind of fill in and, give us some quality snaps, on either side, on defensive side of the ball here in the fall. But we'll probably go back to more of a four-man front than we've been, and just kind of keep it simple and try to play fast and get kids lined up in the right spots.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Now, you played under Coach Meckley. You coached 1 year with Coach DeLazer. How influential was more so Coach Meckley since you were around him a little bit longer, were those guys into you going into coaching?
I mean, obviously, like most people, you grow up with guys that you look up to as coaches. I mean, I had one in my house with my dad, always been a coach the entire time I was playing and growing up. So, obviously, just being around him and as you get older, realizing the relationships and the impacts he had on the kids in the youth league organization where we all play in their lives. And you get to go play for someone like Coach Macklin and realize just the relationships and the impact, not only him, but we had a heck of a staff when we were there. Several of these guys are now head coaches across the state and across the county, the region, rather. So just, you look at the impact they had on the lives of teenage boys and you start thinking about it as you get older, and those are things that drive you, kind of help you gravitate towards it as a profession.
Gotcha. And you graduated from Southeast what year?
1997.
97. So you were a freshman that last state championship team, correct?
No. I was a sophomore on that team.
Sophomore. Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Dante Culpepper. What was it?
Yeah,
I
that
just
was
watched it.
the Cantaloupe Vanguard game. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just watched that game like maybe 2 weeks ago on YouTube. I think it wide left or something like that. I think the kick went wide left.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah, they missed it. Well, I don't know, wide right or wide left, but they missed it. That's all I remember. That's the most
One
important
second, coach.
part
I
of it.
can't
Is they
hear you.
missed it. Can you hear me? Hello?
One second. Okay. Sorry about that. So you were saying about that state championship game?
No, I was just saying ultimately the most important part is that he missed the kick. Whether it was wide left or wide right is irrelevant. But he missed the kick is all that matters most.
Yeah, I could only imagine when he goes, he probably still thinks about that, unless he went on to greater pastures and kicked in the NFL or deep into college. Um, Now, what sets your program different from any program that you have been around, whether you've been the head coach or been assistant coach? What sets your program there at Labor Ranch separate from anything else?
Um, I don't know if every program's got their own set of challenges and own set of things that make them good or bad. And then and we've got our different set of challenges out here than we had maybe per se over at Southeast or even at Western or Coral Spring. But the biggest thing is we've got a really good group of kids that like to work. They like each other, and they really like to work. And they like to get after it and work hard. And they're very receptive to coaching. And that's what we've got right now. I like our culture right now. Again, as I said earlier, don't know if we're as talented as we've been, but I know we've got as good a group of kids as we've had since I've been here. And that's the biggest thing. Is I like where the culture is right now. I like the camaraderie amongst the staff as well as the players and the staff. And that's what makes it exciting.
Gotcha.
And this is no slight to kids that have been in any program I've ever been in. I'm not just comparing this year to the last 2 years at Lakewood Ranch or wherever it's been. It could be at Western, it could be time at Springs or at Southeast. Right now I really like a group of kids and I love those places too. Everything, like I said at first, everyone's got their own set of challenges, every program.
Gotcha. Now we're gonna move into we almost finished. I'm moving into a thing called quick game where I'm gonna ask you a few questions and it's the first name or the first event that pops up in your head. Try not to think about it much. It is more so like rapid fire type thing, and then we'll do like a little mini discussion about it.
Okay.
All righty. So starting off, the best athlete that you've ever coached.
Whatever coached.
Mhm.
It's either Fabian Monroe or probably John Feliciano. Both guys are playing in the league right now.
Okay. Fabian Monroe is the corner. I
Yeah, he
remember
was
him ran like a 4.3 at his pro day or something like that. Then like
at
in
the
training
combine.
camp, yeah. Then tore his pec muscle,
He
right?
tore his pec at his pro day doing bench press, which kicked him to the third round or whatever. But he's signed with Atlanta this offseason, so he'll get an opportunity. I'd say him or John Feliciano, who plays guard for the Bills.
Okay. Now, where did you coach those guys down
They played for me at Western
at Western? Okay. Now,
down in Broward.
Who's the best athlete that you've ever coached against?
Man,
Just here locally, you coach
probably.
against some guys, and I could just
Oh
imagine you going
man,
against
like
down
it's
there.
probably. I mean, you got to think it's got to be somebody. I mean, I coached against Devin Bush. He's probably one. Oh no, it's easy. That Monarch team in 2014 who had both Ridley brothers and Jerry Judy. That's
Mm,
by far the best team I coached against. That's probably the best set of athletes I've ever seen on a high school team.
just me as a defensive coach and a secondary coach, it's like, what do you do
Give up a
against
lot
that?
of points. Give up a lot of points like we did.
You can't you double Judy. You're allowing Calvin
Well, to
brother to
be to
go
be
off.
fair, Judy was a sophomore. He might have been a freshman. Judy was a freshman,
Mhm.
and Calvin was a senior. And he used to go by Caven, but Riley now was a junior. And then they had a kid who actually was a higher rated recruit than all of them. A kid named Sean Burgess Becker, who went to Alabama, was a high four or low 5 star safety. He never really. I don't know what happened. He didn't materialize like they thought. Then they had the kid Ronnie Hoggins, who went to USF, who led the state in picks interceptions that year, and he played corner at USF for 4 years. I mean, they had some dudes. That's by far the best collection of kids I've ever seen on a high school field.
That's crazy just to think about that. Like as a DC, I bet your DC was just pulling his hair out all week. Like
I mean, it was gonna be what it was gonna be. Like
keep him in front of you, just tackle.
yeah, it was going to be what it was going to be.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, just probably as a group. But yeah, and then Devin Bush coaching
Mhm.
against him, and then you just think about when I initially got down there, St. Thomas was in our district. So I mean, we coached when Gio Bernard was the running back and James White was the fullback. We
That,
coached
that
against
was the year
them.
Manatee beat them, right?
No, this is that wasn't that year. They made no the year Manatee won. Gio got hurt and James was the back.
James
This was the
okay.
year before where they both weren't injured.
Gotcha.
When
Ooh.
they won that year.
I think that was the year. I think LaMarcus wasn't there yet, but I
No,
think
because I think Manatee beat him the year when Lamarcus was there when he transferred
yeah,
from
but I think
Southwest.
I think Cody was there. I think Cody Riggs was there.
He was always there,
Yeah, I think
and
he started there.
yeah, Cody Riggs was always there.
Yeah. Now, what's your best game that you've ever played as a player? What it could be high school, college. I know that's a thinker.
As a player,
Mm-hmm.
jeez, oh, um, probably I don't know if it was my best game, but one of the more memorable is we beat an undefeated Hillsboro team on the road in the first round of the playoffs my junior year. They hadn't really been scored upon. They've been scoring a bunch of points, and we went up there and beat them my junior
Okay.
year. Maybe that's one of the more memorable games, I guess, is winning that game on the road. I mean, at this point, it's been so long, and no one wants to be bored with stories of me playing football. So I don't, I don't think about it much.
I understand. Now, what's your best? What do you feel is your best game as a coach, where you all odds was against you, everything that you it seemed like whatever you called, it worked, it was there. What's that one game?
I mean, the best, most memorable game, probably two of them are in the same year, but 2014, I was at Coral Springs. We were down 28 with 9 minutes left against Cardinal Gibbons, and we came back and won. Like we just started scoring, scoring, scoring. They wouldn't stop throwing the ball to stop the clock, and we were down to 28 with 9 minutes left, and we scored with basically 5 seconds left and went for two and got it to
Mhm.
win. And then probably equally in that same year, Springs hadn't beat Deerfield, and I don't know. I think it had been over 10 years, and they still probably haven't beaten Deerfield since. And our kid made a 27-yard field goal as time expired to beat
Mm,
Deerfield. So
that's
those
good.
were two big games. Those two were two fun games to be a part of as a coach, just because, especially the Gibbons game, because just coming back from so far down in the fourth quarter and scoring all those points was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Now, did you guys play at Cardinal Gibbons or was it at your house? Because I know Cardinal
No,
Gibbons.
both were at Springs. Back then, just a little known fact, Gibbons didn't have lights, so they played them like they used to play like 4:30 in the afternoon. They at
Yeah,
home.
I
They didn't
was
have
about
any
to say
lights.
that.
No, they have lights now, so they play night games. But back then, that Gibbons. Now, to be fair, the Gibbons you know right now, obviously they were still good, but it's
Mhm.
not the Gibbons that you know right now.
Yeah,
It's a little bit.
yeah,
It was a little bit different. I mean, the Buck was still getting it going off the ground. He's got it going well. Obviously now at a higher level.
yeah. I had a family member. He did his first 3 years at Gibbons, and then transferred to St. Thomas his senior year. But I that's how I know about Gibbons is
Who?
they
Bobby
I was
Hart?
yeah Bobby,
Yeah, I know Bobby.
but
Bobby, Chris, Larry. I know those guys.
yeah. Oh yeah, you coach Larry at Weber.
Yeah, but I mean, I know Big Chris, and obviously Bobby's a Sunrise kid who played for the Gators down there. It's just I know he is from where he's grown up and when he was in youth league and all that. When I worked down there.
Yeah. I remember watching like their game film and their home, and I'm like, dude, why y'all playing during the day? And he told me about the lights. I'm like, that's no reason y'all should not have lights at Cardinal Gibbons.
Well, I mean, it's a different animal. If you'd have to go down there and see, it's kind of right in the middle of the neighborhood. Like it's literally in the middle of the neighborhood. I actually live. It's over in the city in the city of Fort Lauderdale, and it's right in the middle of the neighborhood. Well,
Gotcha.
actually, when I lived there last, I lived probably a mile from Gibbons, mile and a half, and they just weren't going to. That neighborhood is just not going to was not going to let them have lights. Obviously, they've got it done now, but
Yeah,
it took a while.
gotcha. Now, what's one game that still gives you nightmares where something happened or it was a bad loss where it still gives you nightmares where you still think about it?
Oh man, are those? Don't even know if that's a thing. I mean, last year's Sarasota game still is frustrating. I mean, we trying to get over it pretty quickly, but we moved the ball. We threw a first and a first quarter interception from the 2 yard line on first down. We try to force the ball. I mean, we threw three interceptions in the first half, and kid, we run a fake punt, and we ended up. I think we snapped it over the guy's head or whatever, and they recovered and they go in and score, and anything that could have went wrong. But credit to them, they kept playing and they played well and they won the game. But you just anything that could have went wrong went wrong. We just didn't play well enough. Like that was frustrating. Probably the game. Well, I mean, it really been almost my last game at Southeast when we lost at Hardy, and that's the game that kind of people remember for the post game annex more so than the game. But I want to say we turned it over 8 times, and we had a punt return called back, and I think we turned it over 8 times that game, and still had a chance with a ball in the air with time expiring to win the game. But yeah, that one, and obviously it kind of led to everything that followed. But that was a tough one for the football part. The other stuff, that is what it is at this point. But the football
Yeah,
part, that was a tough one.
yeah. And as a coach, speaking of both Sarasota and the uh,
Hardy.
Hardy, yeah, Hardy. I was about to say Wachula. The Hardy game is one of those things where as a coach it just irks you because there's nothing you could do. like like those turnovers is like I can't go out there and play for you. Like can't
No,
snap the ball right
no,
for you.
no. It's frustrating, but ultimately it's a part of it. It is a part of it. You do it long enough, you realize it's a part of it. But it wasn't ideal.
Yeah. Now, coach, we're gonna end with this, and I do this with every coach. I'm gonna give you the floor where you let the people know what to expect from your program this year and the years going forward.
I mean, ultimately, you can expect to see a disciplined, well-coached team. I think on both sides of the ball, where especially on offense, we're going to throw it around and try to play a fun game, a fun brand of football, with a little bit of tempo here and there, and again, just spreading it out and throwing it more so than most people do around here. And defense, I think, will be a lot more sound, and we're going to make people earn a little bit more than we may have in the past. And that's no shot at anyone that's been here, but we're going to make them earn a little bit more and hopefully try to get the ball back so that we can score some points on offense. And we're very blessed on special teams, having a 5-star kicker, which I didn't even talk about earlier, who's probably obviously our best player. Um, we're going to make people have to go 80 yards on offense, and Drew hopefully can flip some fields for us, in the punting game. So, and looking forward, that's what we're going to be. We're going to always be someone that you think of that plays a fun brand of football. With a bunch of kids going out having fun and competing their tails off.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for coming on, Coach. Thank you for taking the time out your day to speak about yourself and your program, and good luck this season. I plan to try to catch at least one game of every team in both Manatee and Sarasota County. And luckily enough, a lot of teams are in the same district, so I'll be able to double dip.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me. Good luck with this podcast. Much success going forward. I wish you that. And again, thank you for the opportunity to get on and talk about our kids and what we're doing at Lakewood.
No problem. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening to that podcast. I hope you liked it. Um, Even if you didn't, please like, share, comment. Excuse me. Even on that YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit that button.